All right, folks, welcome as always to the APBA Football Club. We got a few things to talk about here. I'm such a bum. I haven't even had time to learn the fast drive football, but I thank Al Wilson for his sharing his time with us and all of you who might have subscribed. Thanks to that interview. Always appreciate your time and attention and your input. Please just comment away. So, I'm just... Of course, Fast Drive Football, newly released, freeware, print the rules, print the teams. Al gives you all the instructions for our printing. Here we, at the APBA Football Club, we're kind of jamming Econo. Minutemen reference, that great punk band, of course. They would reuse their tape in the studio, and I thought they'd actually re-record it over old stuff, so... In any case, just kind of separating some teams here, and yes, tying it into APBA. I've already, I APBA-ized it a bit here. Got our teams in our APBA envelopes. They work quite well. The old style envelopes, for those of you who might wonder which ones those are the, speaking of Jamie Econo, these are the 5.5, or number 5.5, whatever. It's 3 1/8 inch wide by 5.5 inch deep coin envelopes there. So we're just going through and randomly pulling these things together. I'm going to do some fun gaming for sure. You can print them front and back, very nice, and etc. etc. Using an authentic pica pole, by the way, from one of my many newspaper jobs, front page designer, etc. Every inch is 6 picas. 6 picas an inch, 12 points a pica, 72 points an inch. So you call for a 1 inch headline, it's 72 points. You don't really see many of these around in digital newsrooms anymore. That's a shame because they obviously come in handy. Anyway, talking a lot about fast drive football and mods and narrative and color. You remember a few weeks ago I posted that commentary about playing the game with color. We talk about how the rules for fast drive football are narrative. It's words. It's about, the pomp, the pageantry, and all that. I want to remind some folks that, the APBA Master game, which came out in 1983 with the 1982 season, incorporated a bunch of rare plays on the wonderful red inked board. This is from my actual mid 80s. I bought this one in 87 after the Giants won. And you've got results like ball carrier scores touchdown while players are leaving field. Offensive player strikes opponent. Touchdown counts. Enforced 15-yard penalty against kicking team on ensuing kickoff, etc. Now the one thing I hear about these, I don't play enough master game boards of this style to know that a lot of times the same plays will start to come up, but we're going to get back to that in a second. Second season, of course, Fast Drive Football is based on the engine of second season. Second season, and this is a game again, bought this 10 years ago. I've always had the intention of comparing games to APBA. I've got some experiments on the way, but you see what Keith did here is he aggregates his rare play results by play. So outside run rares, screen pass, even down to the it's medium pass. He does it even for the place kicks, So really smart organization there. And it's defender loses helmet, entangle with the receiver, twist free for 35-yard return. Great stuff. Even in Red, White, and Blue Racin, which I brought down with me on vacation, and didn't get the chance to play, but I did punch the card, so that's a massive step. He uses TV interviews. It's the game of Red, White, and Blue Racin is kind of constructed as each turn taking 10 minutes, and the race cam kind of captures the most important moments of the game, of the race. So it's kind of where, I guess, FDF, you could say, the most important moments, drive by drive, but he features narrative style in Red, White, and Blue Racing. TV interviews, the drivers from 11 to 66, all familiar with the that scheme there. So there's just a lot of ways to represent different sports narratively. There is that connection. just to APBAize it here. But what, if those of you who might have stuck with us in the early going, again, we're in our 10th year here. We took a hiatus, but in our initial period, 2011 to 14, once I started hearing about mods of the game and tracking down folks to interview them, talk to them, and really, kind of bring them to the fore. The APBA Journal's been gone for years. Other folks just to focus on baseball, or maybe now hockey and soccer coming to the fore more and more, but football was still kind of in the Delphi shadows. So some of the mods I had come up with over the years and shared on the Facebook page and have been trying to resurrect. One of the things I came up with in my solitaire method to add a little more flavor, a little more narrative, was team leaders. Okay. Team captains. And what I would do is before the game, first half, before the second half, and before any game-winning drive, I would have offensive and defensive captains. Let's take the 72 Dolphins and Niners. 72 Niners, a really great team, a lot of good fives in there. Let's take Forrest Blue, of course, Ted Kwolek, Gene Washington, Dave Wilcox. I'm going to name Forrest Blue the offensive captain, Dave Wilcox the defensive captain. Okay. For the 72 Dolphins, Bill Lilly, amazingly. Dolphins again, 17-0. Going to name Zonka and Buonaconti as offensive and defensive captains. What does this mean? So now, before my game, and you can check out my solitaire method with my original franchise all-star video. Again, a lot of these videos are 7-8 years old already. I'm kind of glad I took them down because there's been a little more guidance in how to do things a little better. I was pretty exuberant back then, so the exuberance comes through. But you can also check my style in the my solitaire style in the Silver Series Best of 7 game. I'm going to probably replay that for folks, but I use the team leader concept. Very simple, and APBA does have a floating index where you can kind of, a B-rated team can sometimes play in the A, sometimes play in the C as the game goes on. I made it a little more tied to the personalities, which is, if you think of football, what you think about, particularly your middle linebackers, Singletary, those eyes, Lambert, those teeth, Butkus, Nitschke, Cook, Lanier, etc. So who are the personalities on the team and how can they personally influence the game? You may not want to do this if you're playing a statistical accuracy replay. If you just want to go head-to-head on a few games, make it a little more parlor game. What I do is I try to pick whatever team has 5-point players, name offensive, defensive captain. If your team only has a 4, Mercury Morris, great card there. If your top guy or top guys are 4s, that's fine. It just reduces the chance of their effectiveness. What I do with the game with the leadership role is your offensive before the game, offensive captains and defensive captains roll. So it's the Dolphins at Niners. I roll for Zonka. If I roll a 2 or 12, he gets to raise his team's index to the A, or rather, he gets to raise his team's index by 1 grade. Obviously, the Dolphins are most likely going to be in the B index, so for that first half, you roll. If he gets a 2 or 12, he raises the team's offensive index by 1 letter for that half only. Now, the defensive captain then rolls, and if it's a 5-point defensive captain, if he gets 2 or 12, then he can lower the opponent's index by a letter grade for the half. So it's rallying the huddle kind of a thing. It's kind of cool. It rarely comes up because if you are familiar with the 2 to 12, the probabilities of a 2 to 12 roll, and who am I talking to? I shouldn't be talking probably. I know enough about that at least. Actually, it's interesting that Dave Wilcox of the 72 Niners is a 5 at linebacker, 4 at middle guard. So I'd be curious to go back in and see if he did play middle guard on occasion, out of necessity. Speaking of necessity and injuries, of course, Zonka, the J0 there, means he only has to sit out 1 play if injured. And then do the same thing with Forest Blue, a row of 2 or 12. He could raise the offensive letter grade for the Niners by a letter. Bonacani will counter roll. He can drop the other team's index by a grade. Now, there have been all sorts of weather mods and APBA. I was actually trying to come up with a coaching card as well. Again, that, if you remember my old videos, my old Facebook page, you would have seen some of those things. I had promised myself I would do a complete one full mod, either a deck or something, by July 30th. Blew the deadline, of course, because things, plumbing issues and whatnot, and vacation, of course. But I did, on vacation, teach my brother-in-law and niece the game. Brother-in-law's 99 Rams versus niece's 2009 Saints. Heck of a game. The Saints went up 14-7. Rams came back and won it. It was only one quarter. But in any case, that's my take on kind of getting more flavor from the individual players. So Mike Singletary against John Elway, Now, the cool thing about it is that you can, I think where it really comes into play is where I put that leadership role in on the game-winning drive. Okay, this is a Montana card that kind of, I just love to play with the type. I mean, why? Who doesn't? Really never cared about the height, weight, date of birth, but what the heck, you can do it. The APBA baseball cards have gotten much more intricate with the stats and all, so I throw some football stats in here. Couldn't care less about the colleges. I know some people do. It's sacrilege. That's me. But a couple things I was toying with here. So here's your leadership. And this one's only got it in the fourth quarter. You can break it down any way you want. You can see that because he's a 5-pointer, I give him the option of hitting the leadership mod. Leadership effect takes effect on a roll of 2 or 12. In this case, I've got it at the start of the fourth quarter. Here is game-winning drive. So let's say it's the fourth quarter, and I think I would have to specify that's the fourth quarter, maybe the whole quarter, maybe half the quarter, with 15 plays to go. When Joe Montana and the Niners are behind, you roll before every drive that the Niners have, and you have your John Candy. Hey, there's John Candy moment on the Super Bowl. If Montana rolls a 2 or 12, he raises the Niners to an A index for that drive. So, if you're Super Bowl rematch, the Niners and Broncos, both teams are going to be in the B index, and Montana raises his Niners to an A. Again, you may not want to do that because statistically, the more you do to the game, it's pretty much all built in here. If you're carding a season set, you know that who the opponents are supposed to be, how they're supposed to perform against those opponents, and in what index that's likely to happen, and then all the play results have to give you statistical accuracy within the index or indices this team's most likely to perform in. This is a postseason role you could do if you wanted to do that. Another thing I was kind of toying with, and this would go down to those pass length analysis charts, and you'd have to do a lot more digging. It might be interesting to have a passer grade rating. And again, the more complexity, the slower the gameplay, unless you add very efficient triggers, multiple dice, card deck, whatever. But wouldn't it be interesting if you could add passer grades to the quarterback? So he's a B on screens, A on short, A medium, B long. I don't, that's just made up. If Paul Warfield is a B index, a B grade on short passes, an A on a long, which he is, which I can show you right here. So, and how would that then work out? So, if Warfield is I thought he was who am I thinking of? Well, I was wrong. I thought there was somebody who was a B short, A long. Maybe not in here. Was it more? In any case, I don't know, Morris. But how would that play out? How would you... So in other words, if Montana on a short pass to a C back, would that then bring that grade back up? But then you've got to, you would perhaps let this override the simple index that's always been part of the game. Just some thoughts there. Some other indexes, the one modification I was really trying to get, again, for player specificity is, say, you color-coded Jack Lambert. Let's say instead of using the rare play triggers or the rare play chart, you have certain players of renown have a little card with a, obviously a 2 to 12. Sorry, well, there you go. That's why it will write on these things. Drop runner, result 1 line, subtract 5 yards from the run game, injures the quarterback, taunting 15-yard penalties. Obviously, you can't be all positive. You have to have some detriment, some penalty in here. I was also trying to kind of pick up on Ray Dunlap's personal matchup system and maybe say I'm going to blitz Lambert, and that gives you a penalty on a run, gain on a pass, but also if he overshoots. There's a lot of things you can do in there. In any case, that's kind of where I'm going with a Lambert, Nitschke, Butkus. Primarily, get more of your linemen in there. Alan Faneca, if you got great blockers, John Ogden, something like that. Kramer, Packer sweep, something like that. Again, you don't want to overdo it, though. But, again, going back to my old videos and my old solitaire method and the Silver Series in particular, where I played the Raiders and Cowboys of the 70s in a best of 7 because they only faced each other once at the end of 74, and they had many more opportunities to. Incredible. Probably my favorite replay project of all time, Stabler Staubach Cowboys. Only met once in the 70s. Tragic. But I came up with a card for the Raiders, of course, the dreaded Atkinson Tatum, in the era of the deadly pairs of secondaries, Fensick and Plank and Waters and Harris. Whenever you're playing the Raiders in that series, or you're playing the 70s Raiders where Atkinson and Tatum are back at safety, whenever you're throwing a long pass, is what I had it. If you had the master game, you can make it medium and long pass. If you throw a long pass is incomplete, and Atkinson and Tatum are in the game, you roll 2 or 12, and if you hit one of those, the intended receiver is injured. So you roll for injury there. Again, it's low frequency enough that it's going to not skew results badly. And it's just a little extra period flavor, and of course I'm color coding Bears, Niners, you name it. And that's where, again, obviously whenever, you're playing games, the 72 Niners, you go back to 72 Niners, you go back to the 70 Lions, that 5-0 Cowboys win playoffs. You go back and some of these great teams, they're kind of forgotten in time. Now, of course, we talked to I pulled the 72 Niners because we talked to Gilles Thibault about his playing with Greg Wells, and you got Brody and Spurrier. Even though they're only 3-point cards, the Spurrier card's killer. 131, 1133, 66. And that's the way I order. I do the reporting in order. I've seen people do, I think, 11 and 66, and then 33, and then 22. The way they report the numbers, I just go in order. In any case, 1133, 66. So Brody is 121. Spurrier is 131. Cool stuff. Now, if you wanted to use this guy as the quarterback and the huddle leader as a 3-pointer, maybe he gets, a 1 number, 2. As that 2 to 12 roll. Or if you want to do the whole 11-66 route, I tend to avoid 11 to 66 allocations or modifications. It's a lot more calculation. It's a lot more looking up. 2 to 12 is a little easier. You can put it, I think, on a card like that a little easier. So in any case, you can give leadership grades and effects based on 3-point, 4-point, 5-point guys. Definitely want to do some mods for the Purple People Eaters and the Fearsome Foursome, the Steel Curtain. So how does that play out? Again, this is kind of a matchup. Then Deacon Jones head slaps one of your guards, the guards or tackle, or the running back, 2 to 12, he injures somebody, something like that. Or, tack on 5-yard loss, he catches the halfback very quickly just behind the line of scrimmage. Butkus, Singletary, all that kind of stuff. I could even, if I really wanted to, I'll put the pair of eyes on this one. Of course, if you want to start going, even more visual, you can go a little out of hand with that stuff. But, one of the things I was looking at, another thing you see in APBA is, of course, the receiver with an asterisk, means that receiver's grade boost cannot be reduced by any defensive maneuver or secondary points. I figured there are times where you're going to need a running back to have an asterisk. Primarily, at least your 2,000-yard runners, your 73 OJ, your 84 Dickerson, 97 Sanders, things like that. I think it was 97 for Barry Sanders. So if you compare the offensive line to the front four, front seven, if the front seven of your defense has a minimum, I think it was, I'd set it up as 28 points, then there's a certain effect there. There's a lot of ways you can do it. And again, minimal, unobtrusive, not massive charts, things like that. Coaching cards, Chuck Noll, Lombardi, Shula. One of the cool things, what's the motivational aspect? Maybe Noel and Bradshaw are having an off day, or, the players who love Madden, Ditka, maybe Ditka was the defensive coordinator, defensive coach had a struggle there. Walsh rallies the troops, roll it at halftime for that, that pep talk at halftime. Who has the stats on how, pep time, halftime adjustments really work? A Belichick card. And I'm not going to get into all the things you could do with something like that, but I don't have my racing. Oh, well, actually, I do here. I'm just going to duck under. You don't even know that I'm there. One thing that I saw in Red, White, and Blue Racing that's cool is that you've got, one of the key elements of the game is obviously you've got to have your tracks, right? Watkins Glen has characteristics, Riverside, all the greats in Asheville, Talladega, Daytona, love Daytona, got some stories about that. So you've got, why not have Three Rivers, Veterans Stadium? You could put weather results on something like this, stadium cards, right? Where it's second season has its weather results by region and by season, right? Okay, which makes sense. And again, what is the statistical reality of, northern team's going down south and the southern team makes the northern team wear dark unis? Who's got that level of analysis? Only the players really know, and certainly if you watch the 81 Chargers at Dolphins, well, actually those both warm weather teams as opposed to when the Chargers then had to travel up to Cincinnati. So, again, you got to talk to those players. Ice Bowl, again, the Cowboys wearing white unis up in Green Bay. Did it really? I think it affected both teams pretty equally. So, something, again, weather effects are questionable in those big weather games. And we've talked about that. I think we talked about that with Al and other folks. But here's, second season breaks it down by region, by season. It's cool. What is the reality of that? Again, that's, that's why I miss Cold Hard Football Facts. They did some really cool analyses like that. So where are we? We got stuff all over the place. What was another thing that I was going to talk about? Without losing things all over here. I do want to mention, of course, you got your Dolphins, Shula, Scott, Buonaconti. This is what the 2014-2015 version of Ray Dunlap's Hall of Famer, of course, 2016. We had emailed John Herson that Barrett and Dunlap deserved to be in Hall of Fame in 2014, so it got there. We need football folk in there. This is Ray Dunlap's matchup deck. You cut these decks out, and you have player matchups. So you've got your if you get Zonka again, or Morris running, you've got a matchup, say, between Wayne Moore, okay, and whoever, and the number designations. Who would it be? I don't know. Cedric Hardman, Charlie Kruger, Earl Edwards, Tommy Lee Hart, Skip Vanderbunt, etc., etc. So he created these wonderful play decks. So you flip it over, and whatever the play is, that's your matchup on the day. Watch our video interview with Bobby Porter of the National Card Football League, also the American Card Football League, to talk a little bit about how that works. So it's really cool. Haven't tried it. Big surprise. One of the things I did, I tend to design, having been a page designer, I thought some nice little instead of the 2x3-inch cards, upgrade them a bit, upsize them a bit, and you can have all your nickel dime packages for a 4-3 or a 3-4. Standard run, pass packages, your nickel dime, and it indicates, according to APBA, your 01, 02, 03, 04, every one of your offensive players and your D1, D2 defensive players are all given a number letter, position on the field. So again, your D1, D2, D4, D5, D3, D7. There are rules in the book in the master game. The personnel you have to sub out. If you take what linebacker you take out for a nickel back, what other personnel you take out and replace for a dime package. It's just some things that I'd like to make available to folks going forward. Again, if you want to talk about leadership roles, of course, the 78 Steelers, Bradshaw against the 78 Cowboys. Who would be the Cowboy defensive? Randy White, most likely. And Manster would be the D captain. Harvey Martin, because he's the only 5. Hegman, Bruning, and Lewis, though. Henderson, Bruning, Lewis, rather. Not Hegman, Henderson. Both, 4-point, great, solid linebacking core there. But again, here's the Waters of Harris, too. So you got 3 5-pointers, and just this points up the old rule in APBA that any 2 secondary men who have total 8 points reduce the long pass index boost, and a secondary that has 16 points reduces or negates the receiver grade boost on short pass. So nice way to do the 16-point secondary there for the 78 Cowboys. In any case, and also just to talk about substitution, of course, you had Dorsett and Newhouse. Definitely got to sub in your Scott Laidlaw. There's Hegman there. He's only a 3-pointer. Randy Hughes, nickelback. One of the great, you want to talk about substitutions. Now, of course, Newhouse and Laidlaw often shared time. In this case, Laidlaw's at 1 point less, and he's only a C-grade receiver like Newhouse. But Preston Pearson, the former Steeler, of course, gets that extra 4 points as a halfback, as an end as well. So, you got to sub these guys in with some frequency, not too much, but be cognizant of doing that, and not by a quota system or anything. I mean, it depends on how you do it, but just being aware of how to substitute your players, how they were used, which is kind of a semi-preview of a video we want to do on game prep, talk about how to set up your replays and really what you're doing. But, I think that's it. I think that's what we'll do for now. So that's, in any case, just some blabbering about mods. And don't forget to check out Ray Dunlap on Delphi forums. He makes his mods readily available. He should be putting out his new version any day now. Of course, Ray Dunlap started the Suncoast Football League in 1979 down in Tampa. Same year I started playing APBA football, and he created all his they created all new results boards for all the plays, which is a feat in itself. Mark Garabedian has his own charts as well. I'm not sure. I have to talk to Mark. We got to get him on the show, Mark. I also owe you a football field, Mark. So I think that's what... I'm sorry, I do have to show you one more thing, though. When you talk about replays and preparation, I think you need to bring out your toys, okay? And I thought... Now, of course, you use your NFL end runners, your Fleer sideline helmets, and all that kind of stuff. I keep saying Fleer sideline helmets. The end runner carts, and you've seen them in my videos or on Facebook page, it's basically the small die-cast replica of the medical fields, medical carts that they use to take players off the field. Then you had the larger Fleer helmets with the wheels on them, the helmet buggies. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool to kind of, I'm going to do some stuff with it, but, that motorized kind of thing, but Mighty Helmet Racers. Now, I know somebody's seen these things. I don't know if these even work yet, but I mean, Heck yeah, Maybe it's a little overlap a little bit of electric football on top of APBA. That's again one of the things I wanted to do early on was we collected a bunch of the football games, board games to try to see. You just saw Jason Graham use a play Stratomatic with the fast drive football score sheet, and he waxed poetic about the score sheet, which was well deserved. So yeah, anyway, it's a little remote control-y kind of thing here. I'm not sure how that works. Haven't read it yet. Don't know if it works, but if you're going to do your game prep, you got to do your toys. Think Slapshot. All right, signing out, folks. Stay tuned. We have more great stuff in the can. We're editing the Ron Emsch interview on APBA Golf. We talked to Eric Simon about the saddle racing game. He's also a very generous soul. He's got some incredibly beautiful saddle racing cards out there. And some other folks are speaking with us to set up some interviews. So this Mach 2 of the APBA Football Club is really enjoyable. The game is fun as always. All football games are fun. Football is fun. And go Lions. Till next time, folks, thank you so much, as always, for tuning in. Let us know what you'd like to see or hear about.